When Sophie first saw me, I was on stage. This girl, Irina, who I lived with at the time, had organized a storytelling series at a bar in Bushwick. And after a couple of weeks of watching, I decided I wanted to tell a story too. I wasn't like the other kids in the house. I'd never assumed I'd be an actor or a writer or anything creative. When I was growing up, everybody figured I'd stay in Burnsville, West Virginia, and have some kids. But there I was in New York, and for 10 minutes, I could make people listen to me and treat me like I was important. The theme that week was scary camping stories. I was wearing my only pretty dress, a blue halter with a full skirt that I'd bought for $7 at a vintage store. And I got up on stage after some girl talked for 20 minutes about seeing a possum. Here's the story I told, the one that started everything for Sophie and me. Hey guys, I'm back again, and I'm here with a review of The Life and Death of Sophie Stark. Now, this was the book club pick for the month of November for my book club, and this is a book that I suggested. I picked this one up 2 years ago at the Festival America. And I met this young woman, Anna North, who wrote this book. She was nice enough to also give me an autograph. And yeah, I have to say, this is one intriguing read. From my book club's point of view, I think it was a 50-50 situation. Half of us thought it was a pretty good book. It was very interesting and very mysterious and kept us involved while we were reading it. The other half, so that is the other half of the other half didn't read the book. And the other half of that half did read the book, but didn't find it compelling. Like, they just found it uninteresting, or as they said, they didn't care about the character. Now, I'm not going to say I particularly cared about the character in the way that I normally attach myself to some main characters. But what I will say is that there was so much mystery around this Sophie Stark character, that I couldn't help but be sucked into the story. And it's done in a very insidious way. And I have to give props up to the author. She did good. She did really, really well with this book. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why would you pick up a book like this? Because, I mean, it's pretty, average. There's nothing that kind of grabs you about this book cover. But what grabbed me was what was written on the paper that was attached to it. Because it was at the stand from Shakespeare & Co. And this was what was written on the piece of paper. The Life and Death of Sophie Stark, Anna North. Told from the perspective of 6 different people, this book reads like a documentary of the enigmatic fictional director, Sophie Stark. The conversational tone of the individual interviewees, interspersed with reviews of Stark's oeuvre, combine to create in the reader, as well as the characters, a fascination with the slight creature who is clearly uncomfortable in the world, but whose art touches everyone who encounters it. So that was written by Linda, who works at Shakespeare & Co. You can see here the paper. So when I read that and I saw this, I said, you know what, let me just try this out. Let me just see. The best thing that has going for this is the fact that there are no chapters from Sophie Stark's point of view. They're only the views of the people that come in contact with her. So you have in here her brother, a really good friend, which is the passage I read in the beginning. It's from her really good friend Allison. And then you have another director. You also have someone she was married to, and another guy. And you see how first Sophie Stark, how she becomes a director of films, how she really starts this idea of creating film. And she creates films out of reality. This is not the kind of director who actually poses and shoots. She basically started filming by following someone around and filming them with like a regular camera. And this turns into her first movie. The book is, that's all I'm going to tell you about the book, because the storyline is really tied up into the different stories from each interviewee's point of view. And that's where you get more of a storyline, is from the story that they tell you of how they knew Sophie. And as you go along, you start to realize how uncomfortable she really is as a person in this world, and how people don't seem to be able to put their fingers on who that person really is. And so in the end, you then go back and you think, well, how well do you really know your friends, or your husband, or your sibling, or a colleague at work? How well do you really know them? You think because you've known them for years, you know, that you know who they really are. And that was one of the things that this book really pinpointed for me, is how well do we really know the people that we think we know? But not only that, how well do we know ourselves, and how well do we know what other people feel about us? Like, how much do we know about how much we affect other people? For that, the book is fantastic, because it really does give you that introspective thought about, you know, makes you think about that, like, you know, how well do you really know people? Not only that, but this book goes into the idea of filmmaking and what does that really entail. Now, I had a feeling as I was reading it, I felt like it was kind of poking fun at what we would consider to be, you know, this alternative directing and filming. There's a lot of descriptions of the films that Sophie Stark makes, and those descriptions bring back this idea of, you know, the poking fun at people who do this sort of alternative, not considered great film for some, but considered masterpieces for others. Not only that, there is constant mention of different films that we all know. Like, I think I remember once was mentioned in here was American Beauty. I don't know if you saw that, with Kevin Spacey. That guy was horrible in that movie. But I didn't focus enough on it in order to put together why she mentioned certain films as opposed to others. But I'm sure there's something going on there with that. But as a whole, if anything, this book will get your book club talking, because we talked a full solid 2.5 hours on this book. We all admitted that maybe we wouldn't be thinking about Sophie Stark 2 months later, but we did say we would be thinking about some of the ideas that were thrown around in this book. So for that, I say definitely pick it up. I think I rated this 3.5 stars, but I think I would actually give it 4, to be honest, because it is really very well done. The mystery, the different characters, the mysterious Sophie Stark. It has everything to make a good book. And on top of it, it's not that long. It's just over 300 pages. Not even like 265 or something like that. So it's not a book that will take up a lot of your time, but it is one that you will read, but you'll definitely want to speak about it with someone. So it'd be kind of good to do this one as a buddy read or in a book club. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you'll pick this one up. Let me know if you have already picked this one up or you've already read it and you want to talk about it. Let's chat below. If you haven't read it, let me know if you're interested in picking it up. That's all. Bye.